So hello, good morning. It's good to be here in my hometown at this event. So it seems we live in tumultuous times with recent examples such as Occupy Wall Street, the London riots, Athens, and the Arab Spring. But in fact, historically, crises are of all times. These are just some examples from the past few centuries. So crises and the unexpected events that lead up to them are nothing new. But what is new is how we relate to them. And I'll try to explain that using this diagram by Venkatesh Rao. The first approach, nothing needs to be done, is this idea that trade and technology have allowed us to prosper throughout the ages and will continue to do so into the foreseeable future. The second approach, nothing can be done, is the idea that we've made decisions in the past that will inevitably lead to our demise in the future. Quite a depressing thought. The third, and probably the most conventional way of looking at things nowadays, is the approach of sustainability, which is basically this idea that we need to shore up our defenses to mitigate the negative consequences of unforeseeable events. And finally, the fourth approach that I find the most interesting is that of generativity. It's this idea that we should increase our exposure to those unpredictable events that might have positive outcomes for us. So using uncertainty as a fuel for inventing new and better ways of living. And to do this, we need to be really good at improvising, basically. We need to improve our improvisation skills. And my big idea, my gambit that I will share with you today is that we can use games to improve our improvisation skills. But not any type of game will do. The games themselves need to be generative. So here's an example. This is Rory's story cubes. You throw 9 dice, and then you make up a story based on the images that turn up. That's a generative storytelling game. It's very different from this storytelling game that you may know from your childhood, the choose-your-own-adventure books. You read a page, and then you decide what the hero should do next, and then you turn to the corresponding page. So this is a very prescriptive storytelling game in which basically anything that might happen has been determined up front. Whereas in the story cubes, unexpected things can happen that the designers themselves would not have foreseen. And it's those types of games that we can use to improve our improvisation skills. Now, there's roughly 2 strategies used nowadays to use play to facilitate change. The first is serious games. So this is Toyota's efficient driving simulator. Serious games are software simulations of aspects of reality, and they're used as training grounds to improve people's skills and attitudes. And they're very much separate from everyday life. And they're quite prescriptive, typically. The desired behavior is really baked into the simulation. The second strategy is that of gamification, more recent, quite popular nowadays. This idea that we can use elements from games to drive behavior change, typically the reward systems from games. So, for instance, the football stickers that you get when paying for your groceries at the local supermarket are designed to make you come back to that same supermarket. And again, even though these games are much more mixed with everyday life, they're quite prescriptive because the desired behavior is determined upfront and the rewards are created accordingly. So we need a third approach, and I call that approach new games. Firstly, because that's a nice reminder that we shouldn't be limited to existing formats. And secondly, as a tribute to the new games movement, which was mostly active in the 70s, And this movement believes that we can use games to facilitate and improve a sense of community. But in order to do so, these games should be considered less important than the players themselves. So players should be able to appropriate any game that they play for their own needs. Now, I'll show you 3 games that we made that are kind of like this. The first is Code 4. The Dutch tax administration wanted to improve the self-organizational capacities of their employees. And we designed a hybrid game that mixes play with work. So you're playing and you're working at the same time. And this leads to all kinds of friction, as you might imagine. And the way players resolve this friction leads to new solutions for better ways of working together. And players can then take these things that they've discovered themselves and apply them in their daily work once the game has finished. But the point is that we didn't determine these solutions ourselves up front. This game can be used as a tool for discovering them yourself. This is a ceremony of surprise. It's a self-commissioned game. We work for clients, we also enjoy working for ourselves. It's a party game in which you organize a surprise party for one of the players, but at the beginning, nobody knows who that is. And you need to find out. Which is interesting in itself. If you guess right, you get a part of the cake. There's an actual cake. You get a share of the cake. And then there's party items that the players bring to the game. And as they play the game, they decide on which ones should be part of the party. And once the game stops, once the game is over, the party can begin. So this is a game that players use to create a party that they enjoy. And so every time we run this game with people, different parties emerge. And finally, Tirso mentioned this in his introduction. This is Pig Chase, which I'm involved with at a research group at the Utrecht School of the Arts. It's a game for actual pigs and humans. Pigs play this game in their pens using custom technology, and humans play it using tablets somewhere else. And it's a collaborative game, so humans and pigs work together in this game remotely in real time. So humans can actually see the pigs, and humans control a dot of light in the pen of the pigs. Now, we could have easily made a game that pushes a certain kind of perspective on pig farming and on meat consumption. But we chose not to. Instead, we created a play space in which people can discover their own perspective on these things. And so this is a move away from perceiving games as media for conveying a certain message, and towards seeing games as tools for creating meaning yourself. So these games invite accidents. These games widen the space of possibilities. They're very different from the skill and drill training of contingency plans that is typical in serious games. They're also very different from the incentivizing of certain behavior that is typical of gamification. So these are new games, and these games can be used to improve our improvisation skills so that we can lead our lives according to the philosophy of generativity. Thank you very much.
That's Alfrink.